Good evening, Shivender.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, CA Raj. Welcome you all in this today webinar on business and professional opportunity for chartered accountant in United States. Today, we are very honored to have with us CA Shivender Sofat ji, Vice Chairman of New York chapter of ICAI. With us, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I also welcome CA Manish Aggarwal ji, a very eminent speaker on international taxation and US taxation. So I welcome CA Manish Aggarwal ji. I also welcome CA Siddhartha Chaudhury ji, CA CPA. He is a very senior faculty on CPA USA. I welcome CA Siddhartha Chaudhury ji also. And most important, in United States. So first of all, I will request CA Shivender Sofat ji, our Vice Chairman of New York chapter of IC, to please give his opening remark.
Thank you, Rajji. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a good initiative because we have also done a similar webinar series last year with ICAI regarding India-US relations, and so this is very highly relevant, and because next decade will be more strategic India-US relations. So it is very good that our CA professionals here should be aware of the nuances over there, so that we can guide, you guys can guide clients here properly, and also be part of that journey on that, as ICAI is also promoting GCCs, global capability centers in India, to make India hub for accounting for the world. So this is very relevant. And the topics which are being covered by CA Manish Aggarwal regarding the entities and the tax are highly relevant. And also the efforts made by CA Siddharth, CA CPA Siddhartha Chaudhury in this regard, in promoting education of CPAs for CPA in India, is highly commendable. So I'm glad that so many people have joined, and it is very highly relevant topic for all of us. And I will be here listening to this, and most likely stay for the Q&A session also. So if there is anything which I can also help with, because our office is in New York, and I'm with the New York chapter. So whatever we can help our professionals over there, we will be glad to do that. So saying that, I will pass it on to Siddharth so he can start this webinar further. Thank you, Rajji. Siddharth, over to you.
Thank you, sir, so much for that lovely introduction. We will talk about, as Shivender sir said, we will talk about US work, how to get that work to India, what are the different state laws, etc. So Manish Aggarwal sir will be covering those aspects, and I will be talking more on the qualification, the US CPA qualification, point of view. So without, delaying further, over to Manish Aggarwal. Manish.
Hi, Siddhartha.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. A very warm welcome to all of the participants who have joined us from different parts of the country, and a very warm welcome to all the professionals and ICI officials and Raj Chawla sir for giving this opportunity. Now, the topic given to me is very interesting, and I think is very relevant. It cannot be more relevant just now, because our professional is, I mean, the whole world is going through a lot of changes and uncertainty in terms of be it the US tariff for global digital taxes, uh, export competitiveness from our government side. So, lot of Indian businesses, startups, and tech sector, they are looking to expand outside India. And when it comes to expansion outside India, obviously the first question comes and the client reaches out to his or her chartered accountant saying that, okay, I want to expand my business outside India. How can you guide me in terms of setting up a business, be it from India, FEMA compliances, tax compliances, as well as it would be a very highly plus point or a skill for you as a chartered accountant for your client is that if you know a fair bit about the entity structures in United States, how their taxation works, how the formation process works out, and you can guide your client all along the process. Of course, I'm not saying that you need to replace a local professional over there or attorney there. The work would be done by the local attorney or a professional, licensed professional over there. But your role as a towards your client would be to guide your client in all through this business setup process and hand holding him and be as a trusted advisor. So with this note, I'll start my deliberation on the topic allotted to me, which is business setup in United States and professional opportunities. Let me know once you are able to see my screen. Uh, is it visible to all?
Yes,
I
Manish.
take it as, yeah, I take it as again. So the topic is business setup in the United States of America. And I am Manish Aggarwal, and I run a consulting firm from New Delhi, specializing in US tax and compliance matters. So, so just a brief about the agenda that we would like to cover, a brief background, which I already shared, how a non-resident from India without a US citizenship can form a business in India. What are the various options of setting a business available in United States? The various pros and cons of the different entity structures. Then we'll discuss more on the optimal state in which you can incorporate your business. Like there are many states available, and each state has its different pros and cons. So we'll deep dive into some of the key factors that you need to figure out when deciding a state for your entity formation. Then we will have an overview of the steps required to form a business over there. Then we'll move on to setting up the bank account. And then we'll look onto the another important aspect, which is the taxation. What are the various tax applicable to businesses in United States, be it in terms of income tax, payroll taxes, sales tax, and use tax. So these are the taxes which we'll do. Then we'll also see if a business expand into different states, how it can work. And then finally, we'll speak on the professional opportunities for our fellow members, how they can assist their clients. So let's deal with it. Yeah. So as I said that United States is one of the places in the world where when you can uh, expand and tap to the global market, and it gives you that level of reach and international competitiveness. So whenever if you are deciding to expand to an international market, United States is generally the first name that it comes to the minds of the Indian businesses as their first starting point. Of course, there are other countries in which you can expand your business, but I'm just given the topic we are looking for the United States. So so the first general question being asked by clients is whether they need to be a US citizen, green card holder to set up a business in United States. So the first and the foremost answer to this is that no, you do not to be a United States citizen or a green card holder to set up a business in United States. Even if you are an Indian resident or if you are an Indian citizen, you can still very easily form a business in India. But now, when it comes to doing business in your own business or working in your own business, you need to have certain types of right visa so that you are legally over there, which is E2 business visa or EB5 visa. So you need to have the right kind of business visa so that you can, if you want to, be physically over there and work in your business. But if you want to be a remote business and owner and there is some other partner that you would like to work over there, then it's fine. But as an Indian business owner, you can set up a business over there. But for working physically in United States business entity, you would need a investor visa or a business visa, EB5. Now, the next very important question that comes to a client's mind is what are the various business entity options that are available? So to answer this question and to advise rightfully to your client is that the business structure should be such that it sh- it should be flexible enough that you would how you would like to expand your business going forward, whether uh, you would like to raise the funding in future or not, whether there is a uh, expansion or capital availability in a structure or not, or the kind of taxes the entity or the structure is subject to, whether the type of compliances, is it significant number of compliances versus less number of compliances, whether the liability of the owners or the shareholders you want to unlimited or a limited liability. So these are the questions that you need to ask your client or you need to get inputs from your client before advising on how to select a business structure. Now, there are various types of business structure over there, but for this presentation purposes, we will be looking mainly into two types of structure, which is a company structure, which is often called a C-Corp, and an LLC structure. Within a company structure, there is another structure called S-Corp, but this is generally limited to the United States residents and citizens over there. So we'll not be discussing much on the S-Corp because if we specifically look from the lens of an India-US corridor particularly, Indian residents or citizens do not qualify to form a S Corp. So they can choose for a C Corp or an LLC. So C Corp is like a private limited company or a public limited company. In India, it's a corporate structure. LLC as at the same time is like a partnership structure, but it gives you a mix of uh, both the features. Like it gives you a limited liability. At the same time, it gives you a pass-through structure for and a partnership structure. And LLC, you can also choose that for tax purposes, you can elect to treat it as a corporate by filing a form 8838, which is also called as check the box election, wherein LLC, despite being a partnership or a fiscally transparent entity, can, for tax purpose, elect to be taxed as a corporation. So we'll see later the check the box election, but these are the two general forms of business entities available where if you are setting up a business from India. Now, I'll just elaborate a bit more on the C Corp. So a C corporation, also referred to as a general for-profit corporation. So there are two types of entities. Generally, like in India as well, you would have a Section 8 company, which is a not-for-profit company. Similarly, in US, we have not-for-profit entities and for-profit entity. So C corporation is generally a for-profit entity. It is a legal entity having a separate entity presence. It means that it is a separate existence from its owners or shareholders, and C corporation shareholders, they have a limited liability equivalent to the amount of the capital that they have invested. Whereas in a general partnership concept or a sole proprietor concept, the liability of the owners or the partner is unlimited. And in C corporation, the tax treatment is double taxation, just like in India company structure, wherein the profits of the company are subject to tax at its corporate tax rate, and the dividends that are distributed to its shareholder are subject to tax in the hands of the shareholder as per their applicable tax rate. So similar tax structure is being followed, wherein a C corp is subject to tax on its own profit, and uh, the shareholders are subject to tax at its dividend.
आपको बात टाइम लग जाए कोई बात नहीं, नो प्रॉब्लम।
There is some background noise. I'm not sure from where it is coming, but if
Siddharth, can
someone
you
can.
mute everyone?
गाड़ी तो उत्तराखंड की है ना गाड़ी?
You are the admin. If you can just mute it, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Then we move on to the next structure which we discuss is a limited liability company. A limited liability company is under the corporate law, it is a partnership with a limited liability structure, but it for a tax purpose, it can choose to have different treatment. I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe it's a mix-up, but I just explained don't go for the pardon this for the slide, but a limited liability company, it's the structure wherein it is a partnership for the corporate law purposes, wherein and also the liability of the partners are limited, but LLC has an option to be taxed on a pass-through basis. On a pass-through basis, we mean that the partners of LLCs are subject to tax and LLC is not subject to tax on its own profit. Unlike the C-Corp where the tax profits are subject twice. So in a LLC structure, the profits are not subject to tax at the level of LLC, but only at the level of the owners of the LLC. So this is called pass-through structure. But sometimes an LLC may choose that a pass-through structure is not good. So they can go for an election where can they opt for a two-level structure of taxation wherein profits are taxed in the hands of LLP. And then if there is a distribution, then the profits may be taxed in the hands of the owners of the LLC. So that's briefly about the LLC and the C-Corp, the two basic structures. We'll just see a comparative highlight. So formation, by which we mean that the state filing is required. It means that you need to file your documents with the registrar or the secretary of the state to get the registered. Now, the other important aspect is whether the liability of the owners or the shareholders are limited. Yes, in both these structures, the liabilities of the partners and the owners are limited only to the extent of their partnership interest or the shareholding. Whether the interest in the LLC or the shares in the corporation can be transferred, the transferability is high in C-Corp compared to the LLC because it is governed by its own restrictions. Duration, obviously, in both the cases, since they have a separate legal entity present, so the company or an LLC will be unlimited duration as long as the members come and go, but the entity will go on forever. That's the old saying we have in our Indian corporate law and universal corporate law. Pass-through taxation, as I mentioned, pass-through taxation means the single level of taxation. So in LLC, pass-through structure is there, but only upon election. Whereas in C corporation, pass-through structure is not there. Ability to raise capital, while both the structures give you flexibility to raise the capital. But in my personal view, if you were to expand and raise funding on a scale, so C corporation is a better structure preferred by the investors if you were to expand and scale up globally. Limitation on numbers of owners, as such, there is no limitation on the number of owners or the shareholders. Now let's take out some of the filing and the paperwork requirements. Okay, LLC, you need to do an initial filing with the state. You need to prepare an operating agreement, which is kind of like your articles of association or a main or contract document. Annual compliances, yes, you need to prepare annual reports and the tax filings required. There is also concept of registered agent, which we'll see later, but yes, registered agent is also required in an LLC structure. For C corporation, I think the main compliances remains the same. There may be additional compliances reporting to like you need to have annual meetings, board meetings, minutes, and C corporation has a bit of more compliances compared to the limited liability company, but I wouldn't say these are too many, but it's fairly simple structure, C Corp or LLC for an entity which does not have many complex operations. But yes, C Corp would have a bit of more compliances compared to the LLC structure. Now, we have seen this term corporate bylaws. So, what is corporate bylaws? Corporate bylaws are nothing but like a charter document or of the company which defines the roles and responsibilities of the directors, the day-to-day operations, how the meetings would be conducted, what are the voting rules. So, it's more like a bylaw or a structure of the routine operations of the company, which a company need to have it. Similar to bylaw, LLC need to have a document which is called LLC operating agreement. Operating agreement defines the inter-se relationship amongst the partners, that what would be their percentage of ownership, what is the management structure, who will manage the key affairs, routine operations, how the decisions will be taken, whether it will be via majority, veto, etc. How the exit should be planned out, how the dissolution should be there if in case there. So similar to corporate bylaws, LLC operating agreement defines the key terms and conditions or the understanding that the partners are agreed amongst themselves. Now, just a high level tax comparison. Uh, a C corporation profits are taxed when they are earned. Then any of the profit paid as a dividend to shareholder is taxed again in the hands of the shareholders in their individual tax return 1040 as a 1099 dividend income. So this is the important catch here is that the tax is only in the hands of the shareholder only when the dividends are distributed. If the earnings are retained in company for future reinvestment, the shareholders are not subject to tax. So C corporation is generally preferred if you do not intend to distribute dividends in near future and you prefer to park the profits in the corporation. That's there. What are the disadvantages of the C corporation? So So this is one of the disadvantage of C corporation, that there is a double tax, but advantage is more or less that uh, a shareholder, let's say in LLC, a shareholder is taxed on its profit on a pass-through basis. So in US, the tax rate for shareholders can go as high as up to 37%. Whereas let's talk about a corporation wherein the shareholder is on a lower tax bracket. In that case, you can take the advantage of the lower tax bracket on the dividend income earnings. Uh, so if you are in a lower tax rate bracket, C corporations are better off because the overall tax burden on the company, which is 21%, and your individual tax rate, if you are on a lower side, would come on a lower side compared to LLC, wherein the entire profits are taxed at a higher slab rate. If you're on a higher slab rate, so we need to balance it out the overall tax incidence between C Corp and LLC, that at what particular slab rate the owners are taxed and what is the intention of the company or a business, whether they want to distribute the dividends in future or they want to retain the earnings in the future. So if they intend to distribute the dividends in future, I think yeah. The best would be C Corp or LLC, whereas if they intend to retain all the earnings and do not want to distribute, then C Corporation is better. So these are the metrics which we need to see to determine which, because it's not a case that LLC is always better or a C Corp is always better. So it's a mix of factors or combination that we need to see. Plus, in a corporation structure, you also get certain additional credits like R&D credits, workforce credit, employment credit. So whereas in LLC, you won't get that. So we need to also see that if there are any tax credits available to a particular business structure only. Now, for an LLC structure, the tax advantage is, as I say, there is only one single level of taxation, no double taxation. So irrespective of the fact that profits are distributed or not, the profits are subject to tax in the hands of the LLC owner. The other part is that in company, the profits are distributed only in the ratio of your shareholding. Whereas in LLC, you can choose to distribute profits, which can be different than your shareholding or a profit sharing deal. So you can have a different ratio for profit sharing purpose and different ratio for your overall capital ratio. So you have that flexibility in LLC. But what is the one big disadvantage in LLC is that in LLC the profits are subject to, which is distributed to owners, are subject to the uh, self-employment taxes, medical taxes, and other related payroll taxes. So which can lead at times a burden higher than the normal tax burden compared to C-Corp. So we need to be mindful of that fact as well, that profits from LLC or distributions from LLC are subject to higher tax burden like payroll taxes. Now, the another important question usually asked by the client is that, okay, now I know which structure to form, whether an LLC or a C Corp. And so you need to guide them that which state they need to form. Like in India, for example, the company is a federal matter, irrespective of the state where you incorporate, it doesn't matter. Whereas in United States, the company incorporation in a state subject, which means every, you need to register with that particular state for which you intend to register. It's not a universal single license to operate entire country. So you need to register with that particular state only. So the typically the residents choose to locate their business in which they reside, or where you have your most important customer or your client, or so you chose that. But okay, that's generally, but there are some uh, popular states which is common among us non-residents, which is California, Delaware, Nevada, Texas, Wyoming. These are some of the states which are gaining traction for setting up the business. And to make this decision, some of the key indicators that we need to look upon whether to set up or choose a particular state for registering your entity is that whether the state business environment, I mean the in terms of the business friendly index, whether it is perceived as a, a reputable state like a New York state or a California. It is very popular amongst financial institutions or technologies sector and investors, and whether you have the right kind of people available, the technology and the mindset, or the right set of people is also available. And also the general cost of doing business of compliance phase and overall uh, ease of doing business is the level of compliance is required, the authority's attitude towards business, that also matters. And also the overall tax incentives and the cost of running it. So these are the combination of factors which you need to research upon and understand, take inputs from your client, what does matter to him, and analyze accordingly. So some quantitative variables or from a purely from a tax and compliance cost view, if you can have uh, uh, comparison to your client on these lines, I think it will give you a good overview, like what is the filing or the formation fee, like initial setup fee, which is the like a fees that you pay to the regulatory authority. So in some states it is as low as 750, and in some states like California it is as high as 600 to $725. Then you need to see whether you need to do any annual filings and cost for that, like annual returns. So in some states it's zero, and in some states it's high as like $650. Then also you need to say whether you need to pay annual franchisee tax. So a franchisee tax is an annual tax which companies have to pay in the states they register, and it is usually in the range of, while in some states it's zero, but it ranges from $250 to, so 15th of May was the last date when you are supposed to pay the franchisee tax. So we just 2 weeks back, that was the timeline. And also then we need to see the legal and the court system, whether the court and the administrative function of the state is functioning properly. There is a well administrative machinery in place or not. Then the other factor we need to say whether the state also levies taxes there or not. So in United States, for income tax, there are two levels of taxation. One is federal taxation and state taxation. Like in India, we just have single level of income taxation. There is no state income tax concept, but in United States, we have federal as well as state income tax. So some states do tax companies as well apart from the federal tax, whereas some states do not tax. So we need to see also that particular cost as well, if there is a state income tax cost or not. So for convenience purpose, I have compared two states, but you can choose to do comparison between multiple states depending on your client's business interest. And so Delaware is mostly the popular one, and we all see people, the US companies are incorporated in Delaware. Delaware has its own reputation being the oldest one and quite a mature jurisdiction. It has and the reason why Delaware is preferred is because you can choose to incorporate multiple types of tax structures with different voting rights and shareholding structures and different rights in your contracts in your company structure. So Delaware is the most preferred jurisdiction usually, and it is considered very pro-business. Also, like if I talk about Nevada, Nevada has no state income level income tax. It has no franchisee fees. It is very low on the filing fees. Also, the owners are not subject to the personal income tax at a state level. So we have different options available, and there could be other also, as I said, like Florida, Texas, California. But California and New York are generally the states which are high on cost, and Florida and Texas, I would say, a medium kind of between there. So you need to choose accordingly not just the tax but business interest of the client as well. A very generic rule is that if a business is incorporated in one state and the owner lives and conduct business in another state, so you may be subject to state taxes in another state as well based on the concept of nexus. And if a business has fewer than 5 shareholders, it is advantageous to incorporate a form LLC in their home state only. So it depends on. So this is just a thumb rule experience based on our practical, but situation can be different on your own circumstances. But this is we generally see that if you have less than 5 shareholders, it's preferred to do only in the state in which they are the residents. Now let's see briefly what are the steps for formation of the business. So this is a high level step plan. We'll see it in detail. So first step is you check for a name availability, your business name. So that's the first step. Even in India as well, we check the business name. Then the next is you appoint a designate agent or a kind of a registered agent, which is a, a person who will do the filings on your behalf and correspond with the state authorities on your behalf. Then you prepare and file your charter documents like articles of formation or articles of organization. Then once you file this, you will obtain an incorporation document, and then you need to go for an employer identification number, which is nothing but your federal income tax ID or a federal ID called. Then you draft your bylaws and charter documents, uh, operating agreement, and then uh, you open up your bank account and take necessary licenses and permits for a special business like liquor, tobacco, or a gaming or a casino business. Depending on the type of business or a real estate, you need to have a construction permit. So depending on the type of business you are entering, you may need to require specific state or a county or a municipal license or permit to operate in that jurisdiction. So let's see these steps. So name is I haven't elaborate much on the name part because name is nothing but you need to check on the site of the state and just to check if that is available or not. And if that's available, you pay a fee to reserve that name and proceed further with the other process. So the next main important process is assign a registered agent. So registered agent is a person who is officially recognized by the state. So they are the persons who have been registered with the state authorities, and they are the ones who will correspond on your behalf to file the documents, seek clarification, receive documents on your behalf. So they are the ones who actually communicate with the state authorities, and they are the ones who are recognized by the state authorities. And one need to have a registered agent in all cases to form a LLC or a C corporation. Registered agents are generally a natural person, which in that case can be a lawyer or an attorney, and uh, they cannot be just a PO or a mailbox entity. It needs to be a natural person. And in whatever state you are trying to register, if you're trying to register in multiple states, you need to have registered entity agent in all those states in which you are trying to incorporate a company. Then the step is once you have the registered agent, when you have the name, you need to file your articles of incorporation in case of a company or which is C-Corp, or you call it as an articles of organization in case of a LLC. So an article of corporation, as I discussed, is more or less your charter documents of the company that gives details of your shareholders, the capital, the place of business, the nature of the business company does. I mean, like a basic uh, charter of your company, and it must be submitted with the registrar of the state in which you are, or the secretary of the state office that handles business filing. Then you need to obtain your employer identification number. After filing this, you will get your incorporation document and then the employer identification number. So employer identification number is short referred to as EIN, and it is also called as your federal ID number, federal tax ID, or synonyms like this. It is a 9-digit number and used for tax filing and reporting and for other business documentation purpose. So in United States, EIN is your fundamental tax ID number. Just like in India, we have PAN. So EIN is similar to that. And foreign companies that do business within the US, including the Amazon seller, must have EINs to report income and pay taxes. So in all your returns or all your communication with your Amazon or e-commerce, if you're doing business over there, you need to have your EIN over there. And if you import goods in the United States, business owner must show an EIN if they do not have an ITIN or SSN. So ITIN is income tax identification number or SSN. So unless you already have these two documents, which is your social security number, but social security number is generally given to only to the US residents or US permanent visa holders. A non-resident can still have a income tax identification number if they do not have an EIN. And in the EIN application, you also need to mention the name and the taxpayer identification number, which is either of SSN, ITN, or EIN of the person who is responsible for the affairs of the country. So in case of a company, you need to have a EIN for one of the director or owner of the LLC to be designated as a compliance purpose or a authorized person or a responsible party. Now, in case of a non-resident owner, how do we obtain an EIN or ITIN? Let's see this. Non-res US citizens who owns a business can obtain an EIN even if they do not have a social security number. So if you have a business in United States and if you are a non-res US person, you can still obtain an EIN without having a social security number. And you can also go for a income tax identification numbers. If you are a foreign business owner with a company incorporated in India, in United States. So for ITIN, you must have a physical presence in the United States, but and US to qualify for file, and you can do it by online application. So you can do it in two ways. One, you can obtain a IIN, uh, or you can obtain a ITIN if you have a US mailing address. If you do not have a US mailing address, you should preferably go for an EIN. So EIN, you can do it without the if you do not have either of the SSN IIN, you need to request by filing SS4 by mail, fax, or port for various information about the business. But your business should have a US mailing address if you're applying for an EIN from a business address purposes. So to sum up, a business need to have an EIN, and the responsible person in the business should also have either an EIN, ITIN, or SSN. If you do not have any of the ITIN or SSN, you can still go for an EIN using the US entity's business address. Now the next is setting up the bank account. Now setting up a bank account is becoming a bit of a complicated, or I would say more of vigilant. Banks have become more vigilant, especially in case of a foreign business owners. The reason because of more uh, on the KYC, anti-money laundering, and strict regulation, especially with the USA Patriot Act was passed. The time to open a bank account in US is taking a bit more time than the usual one. So there are two options that we generally suggest to our clients. One is go for a digital bank like a Mercury bank account or something like that, or a fintech bank or a digital wallet. But if you were to go with an actual bank like a Wells Fargo or JP Morgan or something like that, RBS, it takes a bit of time to open the bank account. You may be required to submit a net worth certificate here from India or uh, the beneficial ownership certificate. So they ask for quite a lot of proofs, your passports and IDs. But it happens, but it is taking a bit of time over there.
Siddharth, can you please mute? Siddharth, can you mute this person, please?
अच्छा बैठ पहले बैठ फिर दूंगी पहले बैठ फिर दूंगी
Khushbu, I think Siddharth, you need to mute Khushbu. As admin, you can do that.
नमकीन दे दो
I'm sorry, but can someone? Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Manish.
thanks. Sorry for that interruption. I think. I think we have seen the steps. Okay, the last step is business license and permits. Uh, Based on the specialized nature of business and the jurisdictions, you need to apply for a license or a permit that would enable you to run and operate. So some of the business that requires special license from the federal or state authorities, like a gaming or a casino business or a liquor business or a tobacco farming business or any other business, you need to check on the state business registry to see what kind of activities need the business license from the federal and the state authority. So that's the last part, and that's sometimes become an important part of your job to get the business license done as well for your clients. Now let's see the next part, which is business taxes basis. Here I'll give you a brief overview about the taxes that businesses are subject to tax in United States. We'll not be doing a very deep dive because tax itself in United States is very vast subject and requires detail, but we'll give you a flavor of it. What are the taxes applicable, how they are applicable, and general reporting and registration requirement. So first is okay, sales tax, and just like GST in India, sale tax is a tax on the sale, transfer, exchange of a product or a service that is taxable. And use tax is another kind of a tax. I would say it is a complementary tax. It is applicable on those uh, uh, storage, use, or consumption of a product or service which is on which sale tax is not paid. A business income taxes are paid at the state and federal level. The amount of tax is calculated on a business. So, so the third tax is an income tax. It is applicable at the state and federal level, as we discussed, and it is taxed on a business as per its profit and loss account, which is revenue less expenditure. Then the fourth tax is employment and payroll taxes. Again, payroll taxes are both at state and federal taxes. So these are the taxes which are applicable both on the employer and the employer. Certain taxes are deducted from the employees' wages and salaries, and certain taxes are also top up by the employer. So we'll see in the next part what are those employment taxes. So first is the withholding taxes, which is called tax withholding, and it is paid by the employee because it is the personal liability of the employee to pay its income taxes. Then FICA is Federal Insurance Contribution Act. It's like a social security tax, and it is paid both by the employer and employee. So employee needs to pay from its salary, and employer needs to top up the FICA tax. Medicare tax is again social security or medical taxes to fund the federal and social medical program, and the employer pays the matching amount. FUTA taxes in unemployment, federal unemployment taxes. This is to sponsor the unemployment compensation program of the federal government, to pay the compensation to the persons who have lost their employment. So it is again a federal program, and it is paid just by the employer only. Self-employment tax, again, it's like a FUTA tax, but it is paid by the persons who are into self-employment, like a sole proprietor, or we see the owners of the LLC. So it is paid by the employee or the owners of the LLCs. Unemployment insurance tax, disability insurance tax, workers' insurance tax. So these are the specific taxes equivalent to the FUTA, FICA tax, or Medicare taxes we discussed, but it is a state level tax and it is payable only by the employer. Then the next is state and local level income taxes. Income tax, as I said, is the liability of the employee. It needs to be paid by the employee, and it is generally withheld from the salary of the employee, and it is reported in the W-2 form, which is given by the employer on an annual basis, and it is reported in your 1040 return. Then I'll just give you a brief what we discussed in our first the sales tax and the use tax. So the conceptually, yeah, many people would have doubt like sales tax is equivalent to VAT. No, the United States is a bit different. Uh, Sales tax is a tax on the sale, transfer, or consumption, whereas GST or a VAT is a consumption-based tax. So sale tax is generally only on the end user, and the subsequent intermediary sales are exempt. And in sale tax in United States, there is no concept of input tax credit, unlike in VAT or GST in other countries like Australia, Singapore, or even in India. You have a concept of GST wherein each leg of the sale is subject to tax, with input tax credit being passed on to the next chain. Whereas in United States, it's not like that. It's a tax on the end user. Any intermediary sale is exempt, but you need to provide an exemption certificate. If you do not have the exemption certificate, you will be subject to sale tax. So it is a consumer-based tax. It is not a destination-based consumption tax, which is the GST or the VAT in the rest of the world. Use tax is pretty much the same. It is a complementary tax to sale tax. Use tax is a tax on the storage, use, or consumption of a taxable product on which no sale tax has been paid. So a product can be subject to tax either as a sale tax or a use tax. And this is generally made when the purchase is made outside the taxation. So generally for interstate purchases, use tax is there. And it is further broken down into consumer use tax and seller use tax. Seller use tax is also referred to as retailer use tax, vendor use tax, or merchant tax. So for interstate purchases, generally it is called as use tax, and for within the sale, it is called as a sales tax. But they are pretty much the same. Now let's talk about the sales tax jurisdiction, because this is where the complexity in sales tax complies in the United States is there. So sales tax is imposed by most states and about 14,000 jurisdictions that include counties, municipalities, and local government. So not only so you have 44 or 45 states that levy sales tax in United States, and within these 44, 45 states, you would have uh, countless number of jurisdictions. You have municipalities, counties. So in United States, the compliance is so tough, or I would need, it requires so much accuracy that the sales tax rate varies at a pin code level. So it has to be geo-tagged and geo-coded. Most of the compliance software that are available in United States provide these kind of functionality. Some of these are like Avalara, TaxDar. So you need to be very precise with the sales tax calculation in United States, because it varies at a pin code level and at a jurisdiction level. So it is quite complex. So One of the important factor that is also considered by the businesses is that they want to incorporate in a country, in a state where there is no sales tax. So there are few states that do not collect sales tax, or they don't have a sales tax law, which includes Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. So these are generally called as nomad states. Uh, so because these states do not levy any sales tax, which is a big relief. And so this, so there is generally a concept of a remote seller or an outside state seller in United States. Uh, so let's say if I'm selling a product from, let's say, New York to Florida, I am a seller based in New York. I am registered in New York. Now the question is, do I need to uh, if I'm selling it to through a warehouse in Florida, do I need to collect sales tax in pay sales tax in New York, or do I need to pay sales tax in uh, Florida, Miami, from where I have a New York and an agent? So we to determine this kind of tricky situations, there is a term called nexus, wherein we determine that uh, from where the sales is made, where is the nexus? If I have a, let's say, uh, agent over there or a warehouse there from where I'm making the sales, even though I'm a seller based in New York, I can say that there is a nexus in Florida state, and I need to register in Florida state and pay taxes, sale tax in Florida state because my nexus is there. This is due to the very famous Supreme Court of United States ruling in the case of Wayfair, and it's in 2018, which brought this concept of nexus for remote seller. So let's see an example of Nexus. Your business is in Ohio. You sell products to Amazon to customer in California. Your products are distributed through one of the warehouses in California. In that case, you have a nexus in California because you have the warehouses. And so nexus can be in many forms. Like you can have a warehouse, you can have a registered agent over there. You can even have uh, billboards over there. So there are a lot of examples, and nexus is generally determined by states on an objective threshold basis. Like if your transaction in that particular state exceeds, let's say, $100K, or your number of transaction exceeds 1,000 or 500, or let's say objective threshold, then you are supposed to have a nexus in the state in which you are selling and where your customer is located, and then you need to register in that particular state, and you need to uh, pay the sales tax in that particular state. So this is a briefly the concept of nexus. So when your client says that I want to do a business on Amazon or e-commerce seller, and I would be selling in multiple states, so you need to be make your client aware that, okay, have you checked your sales tax evaluation or not? Because in those cases, there could be a potential sales tax liability. So as I said, that you need to, if register for a sale tax in the state in which you are doing business, plus in other states in which you have a nexus. To register for sale tax purposes, mm, you need to have your EIN, which is the first thing which you need to do, and you need to apply it through your, say, sales tax permit is submitted to the departments of state's revenue or a secretary treasury department through which the application is made, and the request can be made only after business has formally registered their business and obtain an EIN number. So once you have an EIN number and you want to register yourself in state as a sales tax seller, you need to apply through a department of revenue or a treasury. And once you have the sales tax number or a permit, you need to do the sales tax deposit and return filings and all that. Now let's see other case. Let's say you currently are registered in one of the state, and you want to do business in another states through, let's say, opening up a branch or through opening up a sales office or there. So in that case, there is a concept of in United States called as a foreign qualification. So foreign qualification or a domestic. So let's elaborate a bit on this concept. So a domestic and foreign in this concept refer to where the LLC is created. A company which is registered as an LLC, let's say in Michigan, and does business in Michigan, is operating as a domestic LLC in Michigan state only. But if a company is doing businesses in Illinois state, it is operating as a foreign LLC because the same LLC which is in Michigan, if it is doing business in Illinois, for Illinois state purposes, it will be considered as a foreign LLC. So this comes up, and LLCs are formed in states with a business-friendly tax law. Let's say you registered yourself as a LLC in California or in Delaware or California, but you're doing business through branches or through sales office in other parts of the United States. You are considered as a foreign qualification person in other states in which you are doing business other than your home jurisdiction. So what happens if you have a foreign presence or in the other states? In that case, you have to register with the secretary of the state in the foreign state, and you need to obtain a foreign qualification. Now, how do we obtain a foreign qualification? To apply for a foreign qualification, you need to obtain a certificate of authority, obtain a certificate of good standing from your home state, perform a name search, and assign a registered agent to do the compliances for yourself. So it is similar to like registering a branch or in the state, but you need to obtain first a good standing certificate from your home state, and you need to perform a name search so that your same name is available, and you need to do the filings through your registered agent. Now, the last and the important part of this deliberation is like, why are we studying this and what benefit it could help us and how we could support our clients. So we could obviously support our client in multiple ways. One could be in the whole business formation process and tax process is first part is you can help your client in protecting its intellectual property, which is your business name. You can do a business name search, help them in registering it as a trademark in United States. Then also you can help him find a registered agent in United States, get your client onboarded with him, and get the business started. Then drafting part, obviously you can do it, the articles of association, corporate bylaws, operating agreement for LLCs. This you can do. Once your client is incorporated, you can obviously help them in obtaining the EIN as well, which is the federal tax, and all, because most of the processes are online over there. Then you can also help them in obtaining the federal tax permits or licenses or sales tax application. Or if there is any physical filing over there, you can prepare the applications from here, do the fax and mailing, and get help with a local CPA over there and get the work done over there. So you can do a lot from here by doing the legwork and support. And also you can help your client in registering for various payroll taxes. We do the payroll processing for them, discharge the payroll liability, and the main part is you can do the business compliance like your bookkeeping, your tax compliance work, your regular accounting work, financial statement preparation, all that you can help and do it while being in India and with the help of a local CP over there. So with this, I complete my preparation here. These are my details, and I remain available for any future discussions and your queries. With this, I hand over the mic to my fellow colleague, Siddhartha, for his part of the deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manish, for such an insightful session. It was wonderful, lots of learnings, and I'm sure there will be questions from the participants. So, just before I start, I just wanted to say that if there is any question which remains unanswered today in this call, please feel free to reach out to Raj Chavla sir or myself or to Manish. We will leave our numbers at the end. So with that, I will start with my part of the presentation. Before I start, I would like to say that if you want to target US market, then the first thing to do is to get the US qualification, which is either the American CPA, which is the equivalent of the Indian CA, right? Equivalent not in terms of difficulty, but in terms of the work that you can attract. For example, like Indian chartered accountants are considered to be experts in accounting, auditing, and tax. Similarly, American CPAs are considered to be experts in the field of accounting, auditing, and tax. And so in that sense, it is equivalent. Of course, in terms of level of difficulty or number of papers, it is much, much more, much simpler. So I'll just share the presentation. So why US CPA and why now? The first thing is because it's a globally recognized and valued qualification. So although it is an American qualification, it is recognized all over the world. If I have to take a similar example or draw a parallel, I would say, the US dollar. The US dollar is an American currency, but global trade happens on US dollar. So similarly, US CPA is an American qualification, but it is globally accepted. Right now, of course, we are having this discussion in the context of capturing the US market. So the first thing that, generally the clients would ask is, are you a CPA? And if the answer to the first question itself is no, then, the chances reduce. So, therefore, this qualification kind of becomes imperative for us to do if we really want to capture the US market. So it is globally recognized and valued. The good part about this program is that it is part-time. You can do it along with whatever else you are doing. You don't have to, spend full time, and it is short term. It can be done in as less, or as quickly as 9 months. And, it can be stretched up to 15 months, but it is possible to do, within 9 months also. And I will show you in a later slide how it is possible. As I said, exams are very few. There are total 4 exams in this entire CPA curriculum, right? There are no groups, there are no levels. Overall, total, there are 4 exams. And because there are just 4 exams, there is no exemption for anybody. It is not, not that only for Indians. For anybody, there is no exemption. Everybody has to take the 4 exams. But there is higher flexibility. You can take the exams one by one at a time. There is no group system. And the next point is there is no internship requirement, but there is a, asterisk over here. So to sit for the exam and become a CPA, there is no internship requirement, right? You can sit one by one for these papers, clear all the 4 papers, and you become a CPA. Only thing is that if you want to acquire a license, and why I am using the word if, I'll just come to that. If you want to acquire a license, then you might have to do some bit of training under a licensed CPA. Now, let me explain this slightly in more detail. There are, in the US, there are different state boards of accountancy. So every state has a state board of accountancy. So there are 50 state boards of accountancy. Now, unlike in India, if we have to do CA, we have to enroll ourselves with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Unlike that, in the US, if you want to do CPA, you don't enroll yourself or register yourself with the AICPA. AICPA does not register participants or, students under its name. It has delegated that responsibility or given that mandate to the state boards of accountancy. So different state boards have different rules regarding articleship. Some state boards require you to do some amount of articleship, maybe 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on the state board, under a licensed CPA. Some state boards don't even require that. They say that if you already have the relevant experience, then you can get a certificate from a licensed CPA that you already have the relevant experience. For example, if you are a practicing CA in India, you are already doing audits or already working in, filing taxes, whether it is income tax or GST, you already have that, experience. So in that case, you'll just have to get a certificate from a licensed CPA that you have the relevant work experience, and that will suffice, right? So if you apply for a license, then depending on the state board, you might have to do a little bit of articleship, like 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on the state board, or you may not have to do any articleship because you already have the relevant work experience. Now coming to the if part, why I'm saying if you need a license or if you acquire a license, because obviously you will need a license only if you start doing attestation engagements where you are signing as a CPA. For example, audits, reviews, examination engagements, agreed upon procedures engagement, wherever you are signing as a CPA. If you're not doing any attestation work, you don't need to sign anywhere. You don't need a license. In fact, majority of CPAs don't acquire a license ever in their lifetime because they work in the corporate world, right? So they don't need a license. And if you're getting into practice, then also once you get into the attestation stage, once you start getting those kind of clients, you may have to apply for your license. And of course, it's a great return on investment, as Manish has also discussed, and I will also show you some slides, that it's a great return on investment, both from a job perspective and a practice perspective. If I talk from a job perspective, the starting salary that CPAs are getting in India, freshers, absolute freshers with, let's say, BCom and CPA, is in the range of 9 to 12 lakhs. That's the starting salary. And then after working in India for 2 to 3 years, generally people take inter-office transfer to other locations of the same company. So people go from, let's say, American Express India to American Express, other offices all over the world, or from EY India to EY Australia, EY US, EY Canada, or from Deloitte to Deloitte offices all over the world. So people take inter-office transfers after 2 to 3 years generally. And when they go there, they go at a package of anywhere between 60, 70, 80, $90,000. That's the broadly the range. So if I take $70,000, that is itself about 60 lakhs in today's exchange rate. So for a course which is just 9 months, getting into a job at 9 to 12 lakhs package, then after 2 years moving to a foreign country with a 60, 65 lakhs package, it's a great return on investment. Coming to practice part, in practice, there are two models that generally, are operational. One is the hourly rate model, and one is the, monthly or the annual model. In the hourly rate model,
Siddhartha, I'm so sorry.
monthly-
Actually, your slide is not moving. So
Yeah.
we are seeing only the third slide, but you have the 19th slide.
Yes, I'm still on this slide.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just explaining, why it's great return on investment.
Okay, understood.
I'm on this point right now, the last
Oh.
point. So the hourly rate normally goes, in the earlier days, it used to be a good $25, $30 per hour. But because we are facing a lot of competition from Philippines, the rate, is going down. And Philippines is, very actively working in the US market. Luckily for us, China has not yet entered that market because we have an advantage over China that we can speak English, the Chinese can't. The vast majority of the Chinese population still speaks Mandarin or Cantonese. So that's an advantage that India has, and India is, of course, in this race in a big way, but we are facing competition from Philippines. And so therefore, because of this competition, the rates have gone down drastically over the last few years. But still, it is quite lucrative, right? So that's on the hourly rate thing. And then on the monthly or the annual model, generally US CPAs, and Shivender sir is here on the call, he can correct me if I'm wrong, or he can add to my point. Generally in the US, the CPAs get a salary of about $60,000 to $80,000 starting salary, right? Freshers, or maybe with 1 year, 2 years of experience, they are in that range of $60,000 to $80,000. And of course, people with experience earn much more, $100,000, 120,000, 150,000, and there is no upper limit. Sky is the limit. But the bare minimum is $60,000 to $80,000. Now, what a lot of Indians are doing is reaching out to CPA firms in the US, and they are saying that I'm a CPA, but I'm in India. I will do the same work that your people do, right? But I will do it at half the cost, at 50%. So you don't have to pay me $80,000. You pay me only $40,000. I'll do the same work. Now for us, $40,000 is also not a bad amount. Comes to around, more than 30 lakhs, 35 lakhs approximately. So now after 6 months of doing that, you reach out to your client again. Are you happy with my work? Client says, yes, I'm happy with your work. Then give me one more person's work, right? And for the second person, you can hire somebody under you, give that person also a good package of 6 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs. Even if you give 10 lakhs, you're getting 30, 35 lakhs from the client. Even if you're paying 10 lakhs, there's a huge margin of 25 lakhs. So like this, people have grown their teams from 2 people to 20 people, 30 people, 40 people teams, and they're earning in crores. So right now, I'm moving to the right side of the slide. Why now? Because right now it's a golden opportunity for us. There is a huge shortage of CPAs, finance professionals in the US, and it is running into lakhs. As you can see here, 340,000 accountants short in the United States right now. And this has been happening for last couple of years, or maybe slightly more than that. And it is going to continue in the next five plus years, because a lot of CPAs in the US are in the 50 plus age category, and they are going to retire in the next few years. right? So they are 50 plus. I'm just saying that not just, I mean, there are a lot of CPAs are in the 50 plus category, but a lot of them are also in the 55 plus 60 plus category, right? The retirement age in the US is 65. So from now to the next 5, 10, 15 years, there is a lot of CPAs going to retire, and it's going to even worsen the situation. So it's a great outsourcing opportunity for us, and we already have a great talent pool in India, right? The largest skilled workforce in the world, even more than China. So we can reap this demographic dividend and be ahead in this global race. And that's the whole agenda of this webinar also, how to spread this awareness. Now let's talk about, is CPA tough? The answer is no. As you can see, the pass rates here, it is not single digits. It is not even low two digits. It is quite high. 45 to 60% is the pass percentage. And this is the global average. I can tell you from my experience, the average of Indians is much better. Almost in the range of 70 to 80%. Of course, AICPA does not release the numbers country-wise, so unfortunately, I don't have that data to show you. But from my experience, I've been teaching CPA for last 10 plus years now. I can say with full confidence that the average of Indians is much better than the global average, which is on the screen right now.
I can add one thing, Siddharth.
Yes, sir, please,
On
absolutely.
that, for CAs, the pass rate is almost 100%. So as we have the audience is CAs, they can be assured that CPA is not as tough as CAs. After passing CA, you can pass any exam.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Continue. We don't want to interrupt you, but just wanted to add that.
No, absolutely, sir. Thank you for adding that. For yes, after doing CA, and I say this, from my experience, that CPA, there are just 4 papers, no group system. You can take one at a time, one by one, prepare for the first one, sit, clear, then prepare for the second one, clear. So from my experience, I would probably equate it with one group of CA inter. If you put, the same effort that you have put in CA inter one group, you will clear CPA comfortably. So yeah, absolutely valid point for chartered accountants, 100% pass rate. Now let's look at the next slide. What is the exam construct? The left-hand side is the old exam construct, which was 4 mandatory exams: financial accounting and reporting, auditing and attestation, regulation, which has basically tax laws and other business laws, and business environment and concepts. But now the new exam construct has a slightly different composition. You have 3 mandatory exams, which are called core exams, which are basically the first 3 of the old pattern: financial accounting and reporting, auditing and attestation, and regulation. So these 3 they have kept same. And for the 4th subject, you can choose any one from the discipline exams. And these 3 are business analysis and reporting, tax compliance and planning, information systems and controls. Right? So you have to, if you go for CPA, then you have to take these, the core exams, mandatory one, all 3 of the mandatory one, and you can choose any one from these 3, the discipline one. Total 4 exams. And whatever Manish has covered today in the presentation, most of it, 90% of it would be covered in the regulation paper and in the tax compliance and planning paper. Moving on to the next slide, slightly deep dive into the subjects. So financial accounting and reporting, one of the core exams, mandatory exams. It has 50 MCQs and 7 TBS. TBS is task-based simulation, right? So they will give you a scenario, and on that scenario, they will give some questions. But these are also objective type. There is no essay type question in the entire exam. And you will be surprised to know that you can complete the entire exam with the click of a mouse, right? You will not have to touch your keypad at all in the exam, except for one thing, that if you have been given a journal entry, then to type the amount, if it's $100 entry, then 100, typing the amount will be from the keyboard. Otherwise, the entire exam can be done with the click of the mouse. So it is completely objective. There is no negative marking, and it's a 4-hour exam, right? It is not 3 hours. It's a 4-hour exam. So this is something that we are not used to. And therefore, when we take classes, we generally try to make the students sit for 4 hours at a stretch, so that by the time this, they are ready to take the exam, they are already in the habit of sitting for 4 hours. There are 5 testlets in the exam, right? And they will come one by one. So you cannot shuffle between testlets. When you are on testlet 1, only testlet 1 is appearing on your screen. Once you submit testlet 1, then testlet 2 will open on the screen, right? And once you have opened testlet 2, you cannot go back to testlet 1, right? So it is a sequential thing. And the first 2 testlets have multiple choice questions, and the next 3 have task-based simulations. In terms of category-wise weightage, you have financial reporting topics 30 to 40%, where we will talk about SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, 10Ks, 10Qs, 8Ks, different types of 20F, 40F, the forms that are filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, also XBRL reporting, all of that, 30 to 40%. Then select balance sheet accounts, another 30 to 40%. Here you will have questions based on your balance sheet accounts like cash and cash equivalents, account receivables, property, plant, equipment, intangibles, current liabilities, non-current liabilities, equity section of the balance sheet. Then transactions are income statement transactions, 25 to 35%. In terms of level of skills, there is hardly any memorization involved. It is mostly a conceptual examination. Application-based questions will be 45 to 55%, and analysis-based questions will be 35 to 45%. And in terms of duration, we have 2 programs. One is regular pace and one is the accelerated pace. Regular pace, it takes about 2.5 months to complete the syllabus. In the accelerated pace, it is completed in 1 month. So depending on your suitability, you can choose. Going to the next one, auditing and attestation. This is also a 4-hour exam. All exams are 4-hour exams. This has 78 MCQs and 7 task-based simulations. And this also has 5 testlets. In terms of coverage, you have topics on ethics, professional responsibilities, and general principles. So here we will talk about independence requirements, other ethical requirements, and we will not just cover Securities and Exchange Commission, but we will also cover SOX, we will cover the Department of Labor, we will cover the Government Accountability Office, we will cover the state CPA societies rules, we will also cover the state boards of accountancy rules, and of course AICPA rules. Then you have assessing the risk and developing a planned response, for your audit. So before accepting the client, then after accepting the client at the planning stage, what all things you need to do. And then, of course, you start performing the audit, performing further procedures and obtaining evidence. That's another 30 to 40%. And then finally forming the conclusion and reporting. So here we will talk about the types of reports, unmodified opinion, qualified opinion, adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion, and when do you have to withdraw from an engagement. You cannot associate with a client whose financials are false, deceptive, misleading, or fraudulent, right? And you also cannot associate with a client whose management lacks integrity. So we all talk about those aspects also in this. Then level of skill tested. Here, there is a lot of memorization involved. So if you are someone who is good at memorizing things, then, audit should not be a very difficult paper because a lot of it is based on memorization. Of course, it also has application-based questions, 30 to 40%, analysis 15 to 25. And this is the only paper where you have evaluation-based questions. Although the weightage is not much, but this is the only paper where you have evaluation-based questions. And audit is a slightly bigger syllabus. So the duration is 3.5 months for regular pace and 1.5 months for accelerated pace. Moving to regulation, 72 MCQs and 8 TBSs, again 5 testlets. Here also we will cover ethics and professional responsibilities. And of course, here we will talk about, what are the rules for the members in practice? What are the rules for members in employment? What are the rules for members in business? So different categories like in India, we have, the schedule 1, schedule 2, etc. Then we will, of course, because this is regulation, we will learn federal tax procedures, business laws. In the business laws, we have different kinds of laws. We have, right from the basics of Contract Act to UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, to certain labor laws, to securities laws, right? So it's a nice coverage, gives you a very holistic kind of knowledge. And of course, the main focus is on the tax. So you have federal tax of property transactions, federal taxation of individuals, federal taxation of entities, right? A very good paper to sort of get into US tax practice work. And in terms of level of skills tested, again, because it is law, so a lot of memorization, 25 to 35% of the paper is purely based on remembering and understanding. Then application 35 to 45 and analysis 25 to 35. This takes 2.5 months and 1 month respectively. Now comes the discipline exams, which are, the first one is business analysis and reporting. This is a smaller one, 50 MCQs. although it's a 4-hour exam, but 50 MCQs and 7 TBS. Here you have business analysis, right? Technical accounting and state and local governments, right? So here we will talk about in technical accounting, there are topics on leases, pensions, then of course, government accounting, both fund accounting and government-wide financial statements. Business analysis has topics on costing, financial management, risk. We have the COSO, enterprise risk management framework, then Pareto, fishbone analysis, all those kind of things. And here it is mostly application, 45 to 55 and analysis 30 to 40%. Duration is 2.5 and 1 month respectively. Next is tax compliance and planning. This is again important for those who want to get into tax practice in the US. 68 MCQs and 7 TBSs. Here you will learn about tax compliance and planning for individuals and personal financial planning. Then entity tax compliance, entity tax planning, and property transactions. Again, application based is the highest, 55 to 65% of the paper, followed by analysis 25 to 35%. Again, 2.5 months and 1 month respectively. And finally, we have information systems and controls, 82 MCQs and 6 TBSs, 5 testlets. And here you have information systems and data management, 35 to 45, security, confidentiality, and privacy. And you have SOC, systems and organizational controls. So here we will talk about SOC 1, SOC 2, type 1, type 2 reports. Everything will be covered over here. This is a lot of memorization and understanding, remembering and understanding, right? So again, good for those who are good at memorizing things, and very small application and analysis based. Duration is similar, 2.5 months and 1 month respectively. These are the exam windows and the result dates. This is the 2025 calendar. Of course, the 2026 calendar will be published later. But right now in 2025, for the core exams, as you can see here, you can take the exam anytime during the year. It's a continuous testing right from January to December. If you take the exam from January 1 up to January 23rd, you should expect the result by February 7th. Of course, these dates are subject to change. It could be 1 or 2 days here and there, but this is an indicative calendar that by February 7th, you should expect your result, and so on and so forth. If you take the exam between January 24th and February 14th, you should expect the result by February 25th, right? So right now we are in the month of May, almost finishing May. So I'll talk about June onwards. So June, you will get the result according to the second table and the third table over here. And all the way till December. It's a continuous testing. Of course, barring some blackout dates, they call it blackout dates, which are basically, holidays like President's Day, Labor Day, Independence Day, 4th of July, or Christmas, Thanksgiving, which is the last Thursday of November, things like that. Those are called blackout dates. Otherwise, entire year you can take the exams. But this is for core exams, which is the 3 mandatory exams. And then for the discipline exam, there are 5 windows: the whole of January, the whole month of April, June, July, and October. So for this year, 3 months are left. June, July, and October, you can take the exam anytime during these 3 months. And these are the expected result dates. Now, if I come to the, how you can finish it in 9 to 15 months, typically, this is the calendar we follow. Beginning of, like, whenever you enroll from that month beginning to the, basically 2.5 months. So mid of the 3rd month, you finish one subject, then you sit for that exam, clear that exam. Then mid of 4th month to end of 6th month, you finish the second subject, sit for that exam. And between every 2 papers, we have kept a gap of 1 month so that you can revise and sit for that exam. And then 3rd paper, 8th to 10th month, 4th paper, 11th to end of 14th month. So by the end of 15th month, like this, you become a CPA. So as I showed you earlier, 2.5 months, 2.5 months for each paper, except audit, which is 3.5 months. And after every this thing, we have kept a gap of 1 month.
Can we mute this? Navar Kumar. Siddharth, you are the admin. You may be able to do that.
Okay, I'm not the coordinator. I'll just check with the coordinator. Okay, thank you. So for the accelerated pace, because it is 1 month each, so first paper gets covered in first month, second month you sit for the exam, clear it, third month you start the second subject, fourth month you clear it, fifth month you sit, prepare for the third exam, sixth month you clear it, seventh to mid of eighth month you prepare for the fourth exam, and ninth month you clear it, right? So it is absolutely possible in 9 months if you go with the accelerated pace. And as I showed in the previous slide, if you go with the regular pace, then 15 months. By the way, people have also completed entire CPA in 5 to 6 months also, but those are exceptional cases. Normally people take around 9 to 15 months. So yeah, so those are the steps, so if you want to do CPA, and I would, of course, strongly recommend you to do CPA, because if you really want to target the US market, the first question that you are going to face from the clients is, are you a CPA? And of course, that answer has to be yes to get that client, to obtain that client. So this is the process, you enroll and then submit your documents, and we will evaluate your documents and see which state board you should apply to. And then, parallelly, you start preparing for the exam, keep taking the exam one by one. And finally, at step number 4, your process normally ends, unless you want to apply for your license to, if you get attestation work, then in that case, we will also help you with the licensing part. Uh, so Findulge is the organization, which is covering these courses: CPA, CMA, CIA, enrolled agents. Then we also have sustainability reporting, financial modeling, talent consulting, various other leadership and soft skill programs also available. Right now, of course, in this webinar, the CPA was the main focus. And these are our coordinates. And Manish, I would request if you can also share your number in the chat box, or once I stop sharing, you can also share your screen so that people can note it down. And so if there are any questions, you can feel free to write now, or if not now, then you can also connect with us later on these numbers. So Manish, can you see the chat box?
Hi, Siddharth. Yes.
Okay. So the questions that are relevant to you, if you could take them up one by one, and then if there are any questions for me, I will take them after that.
A lot of questions, but CPA for an Indian should be okay. So first question, I think from Ajay Makkarji is VAT GST is applicable on IT services rendered from USA in California and Florida? Yes. So this is a very, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm saying, Ajay ji, this is a very highly debatable and controversial topic. The way the digital services are taxed in United States is very complex subject matter. The regulations vary each state depending on whether the services you provided are a SaaS service or a license service or a pure play development or IT consulting service or a bundled contract. So you need to see the each state regulation. Cloud, most of the states are coming up with the change regulations every few weeks or now. So the policy is bit uh, California for I can say it is taxable, but I need to again see the contract and the what kind of services. In general, IT consulting and development services are there. But if it is more than just IT services like a SaaS service, platform service, license services, digital streaming or digital platform related services, then it's a different topic which we need to see. Then I think, can we convert LLC into C-Corp? Yes, it is doable. You need to file application for conversion. The process, it's not that elaborate, but it goes like you file an application with the state secretary to the state saying that the conversion application, you need to clear out your accounts, uh, obtain the NOC from the existing shareholders and the creditors. and it goes on like that. So it's a bit procedural, but to answer your question, yes, we can convert LLC into C-Corp and C-Corp into LLC. It's possible. Is there any tax on services like professional services, insurance, and so many other services? Uh, Pretty much, yes. So as I said, that services are subject to tax. Depends on the nature. And shall we get this PPT? Yes, we can. I will share with this organizer, and they can. Why the LLC will pay tax and then distribute partners also? So no. So LLC, as I said, there is by default tax treatment is pass-through treatment. LLC does not pay tax on its profits, and owners pay its taxes. But if you opt for a check the box election wherein you opt for a corporate tax treatment, then uh, LLC and the partners will both pay tax. The reason, as I said, there could be a situation where the owners are subject to tax at a low rate, and the LLC wants to distribute the dividends, so the profits can be subject to higher lower tax in comparison to the overall. So uh, it depends on the individual circumstances. I think these are the single member LLC is incorporated in Delaware. We have EIN, revenue is booked in LLC, private limited uh, uh, is incorporated in India, and expense is booked in private limited, but compliance, I think this is EIN, revenue is booked in LLC, private limited, and expense. So LLC has to say that unless you chose the LLC to be a disregarded entity, you have to file a tax return in United States, either a 1065 if you have opted for a partnership, or if it's a single member LLC, you need to file a 1040, or if LLC has opted for a check the box, you need to file a 1120 return. As regard as whether the way you have booked your revenue and expenses, it needs to be looked upon, but compliance-wise, LLC is required to file a tax return in US unless it is a disregarded entity. Overall cost of CPA course, Siddhartha, you can tell, and this is all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Manish. So now I'll take my questions. So first question is, I think Umesh ji will appreciate if someone can help with the experience certificate for state of Colorado. So Umesh ji, I would request you to connect with me offline, and hopefully we will be able to help you with that. Next question is, CPA for Indian CA should be very easy and should not take more than 6 months. So I think it's more of a comment than a question. And so it is a very valid comment that yes, it should not take more than 6 months. But yes, depending on your work commitments and other family commitments, etc., maybe 6 to 9 months is very much achievable. And of course, 9 to 15 is totally achievable. Thank you, Kapil, for appreciating our presentation. Then next, Kapil ji, I'm already aware about the incorporation. So this, I think, okay, no, about the incorporation and tax norm in the US, but some CA members need CPA guidance on how to become EACMA or CPA to start practice. Okay. So, see, I will quickly answer this question that, first of all, CPA is the American equivalent of Indian CA, right? So it has, as I showed, it has basically papers on financial accounting reporting and regulation and auditing. And so it is more holistic in terms of attracting clients than the EA program. EA is the specialization in US tax. So if you want to just go into US tax practice, then EA is good enough. But if you want to attract clients for other work like bookkeeping and audits and various other things that chartered accountants in India do, then CPA would be a better qualification to go for than enrolled agents. And CMA, of course, is Certified Management Accountant. So again, that has its own sort of, it has two papers. CMA has two papers, right? But it is not equivalent to the CPA program, right? So just like CA is the highest accounting credential in India, CPA is the highest accounting credential in the United States. EA and CMA are maybe I would say one level below, below the CPA program. And what is the benefit of becoming enrolled agent? As I said, Dheeraj, if you want to attract clients for tax work, then enrolled agent is good enough, because enrolled agent is a super specialization in US tax. Enrolled agent has 3 papers. One paper is on individuals taxation, one paper is on entity taxation, and the third paper is on your tax procedures, assessments, appeals, all of that. So it is a good course for tax work, but it is not equivalent to the CPA program, because CPA is more holistic. Whether a CA in practice in India hold the COP of CPA USA? Well, I think Shivender sir would be able to better answer that, but my understanding is no, you cannot hold COP in India as well as CPA license in the US. You have to surrender the COP in India, but that will only happen once you acquire the CPA license in the US, and you need a license, as I said earlier, only if you start doing attestation work. Until then, you don't need a license, and so until then, you don't have to surrender your COP. Shivender sir, if you can add more to this.
Yeah, I will add one thing to this and one or two other general comments on whatever we are talking about. COP, you don't have to give up because you are not doing practice there. You are only you're not taking attestation clients there, and attestation clients are the later stage. Initially, you only get, if you're looking for outsourcing work, you will only get accounting or back of sports service for a test or something, or tax work, right? All these are specializations. So, and many states you are able to get license. Some states give you license. Some states are very difficult, like New York is particularly, they need someone to have 2-year experience working under a CPA to apply for license. So, but to answer, no, you don't have to give up your COP yet till you do a practice there. You can't do a practice there. You always have to associate with someone. Just to give you an example, like we have a team of 10, 12 CAs, few of them are CA CPAs, few of them are just CAs who are working with us in that manner, right? And there was a question regarding EA and CPA, which Siddhartha has very nicely answered. I just take a different take. I generally say CA and CPA are gold standards. So you go with the gold standards. EA is generally, people go for EA who couldn't clear CPA exam, or they have qualifications which don't let them. If you are a non-medical, if you are a BSc graduate here, so you don't have 150 hours of hours of accounting, so you are not eligible for CPA. So those people go for EA exam. So if you are eligible, most of the audience here is chartered accountants. So CPA is very logical, and particularly for young professionals who have recently done CA and trying to look into the outsourcing space or GCC space, because a lot of GCCs are coming up. So if you are looking at associating, joining them, CPA is a good addition, because adding CPA, these 3 letters to your name will add more value and make you more hireable. And as Siddharth mentioned, that it comes up with, sometimes opportunities arise that you may be able to get transferred with CPA. Now you are a young professional. There may be many instances where somebody may get married. So all those things, if you CPA you have, it makes a very good case for you to get better job when you land up, even in US or in other countries. So that's a good case. I see there are few members here who are CA CPAs, and few have been teaching. Rajiv Walia ji is there. He has been teaching. Siddharth, he may be a good resource. You can coordinate with him on your trainings. He may be a good resource for you. And yeah, and Manish has given very nice presentation. And the other thing which I will mention, as most of the people are here, CAs who are practicing here, you will have friends, family, CPAs already there from your area, from your region. Like I'm from Punjab, so people from North, many people reach out, but I work with CA firms all over due to mutual clients. They reach out to us saying, hey, this is a situation for our client. Our client wants to do this. How can we help? So there are many things which can be done, and there is a lot of value addition in that. So if your client has to go to exhibitions and go to US to find an office, do this and that other thing, the expenses are more than 100,000 versus if you can coordinate with a CPA firm over there and you have a close association, like people are working with us or you are working with another CPA firm over there, the same thing may be able to get it done in less than $10,000. So there's a lot of value addition for clients from that perspective. And it also creates a good consulting fee. And I have good cases where CAs in India have partnered up with their clients saying, hey, we will help you to do this. They reached out to us, we helped them, and they also offered us some part of it. And we were able to help them navigate the system. And those are thriving businesses, started from scratch. Now they have either a thriving website or a multiple location businesses in US. Very nice case studies which we have. So lot of potential and more to happen. So you will see, we are seeing in last 2 years, lot of Indian businesses have started opening shops in US before this tariff thing. And this is just a temporary thing. Things will get stabilized in next 3 to 6 months. And you will see a glut of this, because this is a repeat what happened between India and China, US and China 20 years back. Every Chinese manufacturer was having a company set up in US for the ease of doing business of their clients, because clients can make domestic payments. They have a rep over there who they can meet. There is a office. You are giving them the jurisdiction is the US jurisdiction. So if I'm buying something from you from India versus I'm buying something from you when you are in New York or California, it gives me a local jurisdiction. I can sue you there, right? So those kind of things, you are enabling your customer, you are giving them more facilitation. So you will see a lot of activity in this space in next 2 to 3 years. So every client, every city, you will see, if you go to your clients who are in industry or trading, and people who really want to do it but couldn't do it because of either constraints to travel, constraints to cost. So there is a value to be added in that space. And after 3 years or so, we will also see small and medium business coming to India, because we will have more ease of doing business in India. We will see that, but that is in the future. Right now, you will see this side, and there is a lot of value which we can add from the Indian CA's perspective in that, and add more to this journey, this India-US story, which is unraveling at a very fast pace. So these were few things which I thought to add. And very nice presentation by Manish and Siddharth, both of you. We gave these seminars at one point, not professionally, but just as a give back to community, to CPA as a career, back in 2010 and 11, with some of the NIRC branches at that time. Raji was there and CA Vishalgar was there. So we did that, but there were not that much of training facilities at that time. There was only Baker CPA was there, and they were also only in few big metros. But now the landscape has changed. Everything is online. It can be done. Even you are in the remotest part of India, you can do these things, which is a great opportunity. I think people should use this. Okay, Siddharth, that's from me. And you can take up and see if there are any other questions, or you want to close about.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. And That coming from you is a very big, it means a lot to us. It's a very big compliment. So thank you so much again. And sir, I would like to take this opportunity to maybe make an appeal to all our friends here that US is a very big market, right? We can really go out there and capture that market, before Philippines or China does it. So, it is the need of the hour. It is the call of the nation. I mean, if we have the capability to do it, we can together, all of us, you know, uh, really go out there and capture the entire, not the entire, but, a substantial portion of the US market.
Yes.
And individually also, we will all flourish. But together, we will add so much to India's GDP and, maybe take India to the next level. So it will be aligned with the Viksit Bharat mission also. So it's an appeal to everybody that everybody should, get this work from US as much as possible and also spread this awareness. And so very quickly to, answer the remaining questions, I think Mohit ji has asked, do you have any program to develop the capability developments? Yes. So we run some, compensation benchmarking studies, and we also do, basically kind of turnkey projects to help GCC set up in India. So you can, Mohit ji, if you can reach out, offline, you have our numbers, you have my number, Manish's number and Shivender sir's number also, hopefully. So you can write to us and we will guide you. So we do talent consulting, compensation benchmarking, and also setting up teams in India for American firms that want to come to India and set up their GIC or GCCs.
Yes, it's a very hot topic, Siddharthi, for these days, the GCC coming to
Yes.
India. ICAI is coming up big on this. ICAI GCC Summit is happening in 4 cities. CII is coming up with GCC Summit. So, lot of emphasis on the GCC. And I
Yes.
think this is one of the market which we as an Indian CAs, the trend is that not just MNCs GCC are targeting, but a lot of small and small multinationals or startups are also looking to target GCC as a space. So, with our specialized knowledge of Indian space and with a little bit of research and tweaking, we can do most of the country's tax compliance and function here from India. So, the GCC as a market, it's up and budding up, but we should be able to tap it up with the GCC boom that is happening. So with this, I leave and Siddharth, you can take up the rest. But thanks all to for this listening, and we can collaborate and flourish well. That's the motto.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Manish.
Yeah.
Okay, so very quickly, taking up the remaining questions. Which optional paper should I choose? Well, Jayesh, for that, I would simply say that, you have to align it with your career aspiration. If you want to go into tax profile or get tax clients, then you should go for TCP. If you want to go into corporate finance, then you should go with bar. And then if you want to become a systems auditor, you want to do CISA, DISA, those kind of things, then you should go with the information systems and controls paper. How many months of internship is required to obtain license? As I said, Vaibhav, it differs from state board to state board. It starts from as low as 2 months and goes up to 2 years. So with, I think, New York as the only exception, which has more than 2 years of licensing internship requirement. But other state boards, it ranges from 2 months to 2 years. So depending on the state board. And, if you want to really like not do internship, not do as in you want to do the lowest this thing 2 months of internship, then we will suggest you those state boards which ask only for 2 months of internship. And if you don't want to do it totally, then that is also possible, because as I said earlier, some state boards do not need you to do internship. They just need you to get a certificate from a licensed CPA that you already have the relevant work experience. Next question from Kapil ji again. Would request you to kindly share the exam related PPT. CPA exam related PPT. Okay, so we'll ask our admin team to do that for you. What is the overall cost of the CPA course? Well, there are 3 expenses involved in the CPA course. One is your eligibility and registration fee, which goes directly to the US. Second is your content and coaching fee, which we provide. And the third is the examination fee. So once you are ready to take the exams, you can pay the exam fee and sit for the exam. So these are the three main buckets, I would say, for as far as the cost is concerned. Now, overall, it comes to around 2.5 to 3 lakhs, right? And if you like, I'm just saying, saying that if you are planning to do it in a 15-month time frame, then basically you are looking at 20,000 per month kind of an expense. Of course, I mean, just averaging it out, uh, you are looking at a 20,000 per month kind of an expense, right? For a course which will probably give you millions in the future. So that way, it's a great return on investment. Then which optional paper do I choose? I have already answered that. What are the ways to search for US clients for remote work? I would, hands down, I would say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very, very powerful tool. So through LinkedIn, I can share my own experience. I have got a lot of work through LinkedIn, right? So just play your LinkedIn game, to the best of your ability. If you have to do some course on LinkedIn, like, Ankur Variku, or there are many other players in the market who teach you on how to up your LinkedIn game. I would single-handedly say LinkedIn is the best way to capture clients from the US or anywhere in the world for that matter. But definitely it has worked for me. So I'm sure it will work for you also. Then next question is CPA cleared in India. License need to be taken within 3 years. Okay, that's a good question. So see, again, there was a rule, and I mean, that rule is still there, but it has been sort of exempted or waived off for the time being, that if you take the exam from an international location, which obviously means anywhere outside the United States, it's an international location for them. So if you're taking the exam from any international location, including India, you have to apply for the license within 3 years. Now that rule has been put on hold, since COVID, that rule has been put on hold. So you don't need you don't need to acquire a license within 3 years, or in fact, ever, until that rule becomes applicable again. So most likely that rule will not become applicable, right? Because of the practical challenges, because there was a lot of uproar uh, uh, from the international student community, that how can they acquire a license within 3 years? Although 3 years is not a small time, it's quite a big, good enough time to apply for a license. But still, because of that uproar and because COVID happened and all that, they have sort of suspended that rule for the time being. So right now, you don't have to worry about the licensing part. And yes, I still recommend, whoever does CPA and sits for the CPA exam in India, I strongly recommend them to write to the state board. I mean, we help them. We only help them in doing that, but it's a strong recommendation that write to your state board, uh, asking them specifically about suspension of that rule, so that, you also have it in your records. EA can be done by non-green card holders. Yes, absolutely. EA can be done by non-green card holders. Lots of Indians have done EA, enrolled agents. So the only thing that you need is either social security number, which of course is difficult to get for us as Indians. Then other option is you can get the PTIN number, right? So once you have your PTIN number, you can sit for the EA exam and get, get the membership of the this thing of the IRS, right? So enrolled agents are IRS agents. I also do not think we need to give up Indian COP if we have. Yes, you, as we discussed, you you do not have to give up Indian COP until and unless you apply for your CPA license, right? And that stage comes much later in the career, once you start getting attestation clients. And also, yeah, one more thing I would like to add here, since we are talking about licensing, is that the best part about US is you can hold multiple licenses. I mean, I'm talking about in US, not vis-a-vis the Indian COP, that you cannot hold if you are applying for US CPA license. but you can hold multiple licenses in the sense that you can have a California license. At the same time, you can have a New York license, you can have a Florida license, you can have as many licenses as you want. Also, you can transfer your license from one state to another. Suppose you have taken your exam from California State Board, but later you decide that I want to capture clients of New York, so let me go for the New York license. Can I do it? Answer is yes, you can do it. You can transfer your credits from California State Board to New York State Board, fulfill the New York State Board's other requirements of licensing, and you can apply for a New York license. You can also have both California and New York license at the same time without surrendering any of them, right? So those are some of the flexibilities. What are the ways to search for that? I have already answered, right? Can we file individual return form 1040 without having license in US? Now, see, that's the thing. If you don't have a license, you become a tax preparer. You don't file. So normally, as Shivender sir was also saying, Indians sitting here normally prepare the returns, send it to their counterpart in the US, and they file the return, right? So, but once you have your own license, you can also file. Shivender sir has already given his contact details in the chat box. So anybody who's interested, please, you can note it down from the chat box. For the recording, we will request the admin team to get in touch with you. You can also please write to us. If somebody wants the recording, please write to us. It will not be circulated to everyone. It will only be on a request, case to case basis, on request basis. So anybody wants the recording, please write to the admin team. I mean, write to us, we will convey it to the admin team. So I think all the questions have been answered. If still there are any questions that come to your mind as an afterthought, you can reach out to us. I will again share the screen for quick 1 minute. These are, this is my number on the bottom right. You can reach out to this number. Shivender sir has given his number in the chat box, and Manish sir has also given his number in the chat box. So, sir, Shivender sir, with your due permission, can I close the?
Yeah, all good. Thank you all, and best wishes. And I think some of you will join on the CPA journey, and others will get on to this GCC journey. ICAI is giving a big push. We were on our overseas meeting with the ICAI team there, and it is going to be a big push with GCCs. So I think people should be ready to get on that journey.
Right, sir. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shivender sir, once again. Thank you, everybody, for joining in.
Thank you.
And we hope to be in touch with all of you soon. Thank you.